What's up guys, Meredith with AmericanTrucks.com, and today we're checking out the BDS 3-inch Performance Elite Coilover Suspension Lift Kit with Fox 2.5 coilovers and Fox 2.0 shocks, fitting all 2019 and newer 4-wheel drive Ram 1500s without air ride and excluding the EcoDiesel and TRX models. Now, fitting up a 33-inch tire and increasing your truck's capability is what you're searching for in a high-performance kit. This one by BDS will be a great option to consider. Now, this will be perfect for the Ram owner who's looking to level out the stance of their truck for a better appearance and wants to take it up a notch with top-tier performance. Now, not only are you getting a quality suspension here, but you will be able to adjust your suspension to whatever ride, whatever terrain, or whatever lifestyle that you have. Now, this kit may not look like it has a lot of components in the system, but it will offer a good amount of comfort, performance, and capability out of the couple components that you see here. Now, the Fox 2.5 Performance Elite Coilovers, those are going to offer the additional height, the extra comfort, and the dampening performance, and the DSC adjuster will allow high speed and low speed compression tuning for whatever terrain that you're coming across. Now, the difference between that high and low speed will alter the comfortability and the performance or the responsiveness, whether you're doing really quick washboards at a high speed or you are driving on the highway and your suspension is working at low speed. Now, paired with the remote reservoir here, this is going to offer maximum cooling, increase your valving, and overall just increase your performance. Now, the lift alone will allow you to mount up that 33-inch tire, increase your clearance if you do take your truck off-road and want the extra room to work with, and define the stance of your truck. But I do want to mention that depending on the wheel and the aggressiveness of whatever tire that you're mounting up, minor trimming may be required. Now, one of the best features about this lift kit is that you are getting that more aggressive lift height, but you're not compromising any ride quality, you're only improving it. That's thanks to the correctly angled control arms and, of course, those adjustable coilovers. Now, the construction here is going to be beefy with all of the components that you see. It is taking up a majority of my table, and there's only a few things here, so you can tell that these are big and are going to withstand a lot of abuse on your truck. Now, starting off with the struts, these will have a 2.5-inch impact extruded aluminum body with an aluminum construction and a 7/8-inch hard chrome heat-treated alloy steel shaft, which is going to be very durable, and this thing is going to be durable inside and out. Now, this will also come with Fox 2.0 Performance Series IFP rear shocks, which will have very similar construction. They're just going to be slightly smaller because they are in the rear. Both are going to be more than durable, withstanding all types of abuse. Included in the kit will also be 1.5-inch outer diameter steel tubular control arms that are corrected for that camber adjustment. They will include greasable ball joints and tough rubber bushings for a maintenance-free design. Now, speaking of the hardware, this is not only what you're getting out of the kit, you will get everything that you need in order to install it on your Ram. This kit will be pricey, but for good reason, at about $3,800. Now, what makes this kit stand apart from others is the coilovers with their DSC adjustments, remote reservoirs, and huge construction that up the ante compared to other more entry-level strut choices. Now, the price point will definitely make this choice for the Ram owner looking to invest in their suspension, and compared to other choices, wants one that will offer customization in their ride comfort and their off-road performance. Now, install will be a 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter and take you about 5 hours to get the job done. Now, I recommend having a professional installation done with this. It is a lot of work, especially if you're not set up with the right tools or space to do it. Now, if you are set up and if you are tackling this install yourself, or you're just curious on a detailed breakdown of how to get this onto your Ram, we can head over to the shop and check it out on our Ram right now.
For this install, you need a pry bar, a hammer, grease, 3/8 impact, a grease gun, a 1/2-inch, a 3/8, and 1/4 ratchet, a 21, an 18, an 8, and a 9/64 Allen socket, a 1/4-inch extension, a 16, a 13/16, and a 15/16 wrench, and a 17 and 19 ratcheting wrench. And also not shown via lift and pull jacks. All right, today we're gonna be installing a lift kit on our Ram, but first we're gonna watch a video to install the front struts, and then we'll come back here to install the rest, and then install the new parts.
First things first, guys, of course you wanna get your truck up in the air, whether you're using a lift or if you're working on the ground with the jack and jack stands. Now I got my 22 socket here in my air tools. I'm gonna get this wheel out of the way so we can get started. First thing we're gonna do with the wheel out of the way is disconnect a couple of ABS line clips. That way, when we're lowering down our entire spindle, it's not putting extra pressure on our brake lines. Now, this line here, the ABS line and the brake line are connected. So we're gonna pull back on this plastic clip to disconnect and slide those guys out. Follow the ABS line up and it's connected to the upper control arm. We're gonna wiggle that guy back and forth to disconnect it. Follow it back down to the spindle and there's one more to pull out. All right, now on the back of the spindle, you'll see this metal clip. It's more of an S-shaped. We're just gonna wiggle this rubber grommet out of that. And now you can see this whole thing's loose and has a lot of slack. Next step, we're gonna pick up our 21 millimeter deep socket and we're gonna loosen it and remove the nut holding on our tie rod end. Now what I like to do is once I have that nut off, pull the tie rod end out, and I like to put the nut back on just so we don't lose it. Next, we're gonna remove the bottom bolt of our strut. Now, it's a 21 millimeter bolt head with a 15/16 nut on the opposite end. So I've got my wrench on the nut there and my 21 on the bolt head. We're gonna get this guy off. Now, we may need a hammer to just tap this out, but if you can wiggle it out, you can do that now. All right, next we wanna remove the bottom of our sway bar end link nut and the upper control arm to spindle nut. Those things are gonna have the entire spindle drop down, or the lower control arm as well, and we wanna make sure we have that weight supported so it doesn't drop down on us. So if you're working on a lift, grab a pole jack at this point. If you're working on the ground, a hydraulic jack will do the trick. All right, next up, we're gonna grab an 18 millimeter deep socket and loosen and remove the bottom nut of our sway bar end link that connects to the lower control arm. Now, in theory, you could remove the top portion that connects to the sway bar, but I find it easier to do it this way just because there's a lot more room to work with and I can get an impact gun on here. So now we can take the 18 and remove it. With this out of the way, when we go to lower this thing down, the sway bar won't stop it from going as low as we need it. All right, so next we want to tackle the upper control arm to the spindle bolt. Now when we're trying to loosen it, this is going to rotate back and forth. In order to keep it from doing that, to make our lives easier, I'm just going to take this nut off and put our tie rod end back on. Now we don't have to tighten it down, but that'll keep it from moving around too much and help us out. With your lower control arm still supported, grab a 13/16 wrench or a 21, and you're gonna go in here and break this upper control arm to spindle nut loose. We have this loose. I'm gonna bring the nut down to a couple of the last threads. We're not gonna completely remove the nut just yet. As you can see, the spindle is still attached to the upper control arm. We need to grab a hammer and break this guy loose so it'll jolt free. If you completely remove this nut, that'll break free and it'll drop down. So this is gonna help catch it. Then we'll come back and remove it. So we're gonna grab a hammer and tap on the actual spindle. You don't wanna hit the upper control arm. You don't wanna risk damaging the bushing. So we're gonna hit this side right here on the spindle. All right, so you saw us break that loose. Now we can remove our nut. I'm gonna grab a pry bar and put it on the coil and pull down on the upper control arm. That way we can disconnect them. Let's work that nut off. All right, I'm gonna drop that off to the side for now. You wanna grab the spindle and slowly let go of the upper control arm. Now we can bring this down. Right now I'm just gonna take that nut and again, just thread it up on the upper control arm just so we don't lose it. All right, now we have our truck lowered a little bit to gain access to the top of our strut. Now there's 3 nuts. If you push this liner back a bit, 1 in the front right here and then 2 at the back. Now you'll see the wire is actually mounted to the top of that, so we'll be able to pop those off in just a bit. I would definitely recommend a 16 millimeter ratcheting wrench. I have a longer guy here to give me a little bit more leverage. This is gonna make life a lot easier, just ratcheting back and forth. Otherwise, you can use a regular wrench or a ratcheting socket if you can get it in there. So let's get these 3 nuts off. All right, so now I'm just reaching my hand back in here and I'm gonna wiggle back and forth the wiring harness to get them off of the stud. All right, so we got one of them off, this little clip. Just pull that back and rotate it up. Let's do the same thing on the other one. And again, I know this is tough to see, but really just pushing it out of the way. All right, so now we're switching back over to our ratcheting wrench, and we're gonna work off the last 2 bolts. All right, at this point, the strut is loose. We just have to get it out of position. So in order to do that, I'm gonna push down on the entire spindle lower control arm assembly, lift this guy up, and pop it out. Just like that.
All right, since our kit does come with a new upper control arm, we will need to remove our stock one. It's just 2 21mm bolts on either side. All right, you need to do the same thing for the other side. All right, now we're gonna install our new upper control arm. They are side dependent, so just make sure because the ball joint will be offset to the rear, and also this bracket here is in the rear. Just gonna reinstall it with our hardware that we just took off. All right, we can just leave these hand tight for now, and we'll come back and tighten everything up after. All right, before we put our front strut up in, what we're gonna do is we're gonna mount our reservoir to our bracket. It's just a little difficult to do it while it's in the car just to hold it in place. But it's gonna mount like that. As you will see, it is angled backwards towards the rear. So you just gotta make sure you pick the right bracket. We're gonna take our sleeves and our brackets. They're gonna tuck in behind, just like that. And go over the front. And then we're going to install our supplied Allen bolts. Do the same thing for the other one. All right, now it doesn't need to be tight because this will need to rotate in the bracket itself just to make it easier to go on. So now we can install our front strut. All right, so now we can install our coilover. As you can see, I just have the reservoir thrown over my shoulder just to help keep it out of the way. Now you're gonna align this line so that it's facing forward and outside. So just going to slide it into place. All right, now to hold it up in place, we're gonna take our supplied flat washer and locking nut. We're gonna put it on our most forward one. The other two will tighten down over our bracket for our reservoir. All right, so now we can put our reservoir into place over our 2 studs. We could do the same thing, install our flat washer and locking nut. All right, now we can grab our 17mm ratcheting wrench and tighten down all of our top nuts. All right, and now that we have that mounted, we can adjust our reservoir and tighten down our Allens with our 9/64 Allen socket. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our pry bar and just pry down on the knuckle here, just so we can get our strut in around our lower control arm. Just watch, make sure you're not pulling too much tension on the brake line or anything. All right, so now we're gonna put our bolt back in our lower control arm for our strut. It's just this factory bolt. You may need to lift up on the control arm just a little bit just to get it lined up. Just thread it on for now and we'll tighten everything when we come back. All right, now we're gonna take our cotter pin and our castellated nut off our upper control arm and then put it in our knuckle. Thread our nut on. We're also gonna put our tie rod in while we can. All right, now we're gonna go through and tighten everything up. All right, we're gonna grab our ratchet with 21mm socket, tighten down our control arm bolts. All right, we can tighten down our upper control arm bolt. It's also a 21mm socket. And put our cotter pin in. Put that in, bend the bottom back, lock it in place. All right, we can now tighten our tie rod, 21mm socket. And then tighten our lower strut mount. It's gonna be a 21mm socket on a ratchet and a 15/16 wrench on the nut. All right, now we need to grease our ball joint. So we're just gonna grab our grease gun and grease it up. All right, once that's all the way greased up, we're gonna grab our cap. We have a little bit of lube. Go around our O-ring. And then just press it on. All right, we just need to reconnect our ABS wires. So I'm gonna pop it back in our clip down here, and then around our brake line here. All right, now you just repeat the same thing for the other side. All right, now we're gonna put our sway bar link back through our lower control arm and put our 18mm nut on. All right, now for the rear, what we're gonna do is we have our rear supporter with our pole jacks, and now we're just gonna take our 21mm bolt out of our track bar. All right, now we're just gonna take out our plastic liner. There are 4 8mm bolts that go around. We're gonna disconnect our top sway bar link mount. It's a 16mm bolt. All right, we're gonna take our top nut off of our shock mount. It's a 19mm nut. We're gonna grab our ratcheting wrench. All right, now we take our lower mount off. All right, we're gonna take our lower mount bolt out for our shock, 21 millimeter head, 13/16 nut. All right, you just repeat that same thing for the other side. All right, now we have all that disconnected. We're gonna lower our axle down slowly and evenly. While we're doing that, we're just gonna make sure we have enough slack in all of our brake line, ABS line, and any other harnesses. All right, now we're gonna get our new spring. We're gonna take our old spring isolator, put that over top. You'll see the notch at the end of the spring sits in, and we will set that into place. All right, we're not gonna be able to get the spring up all the way over yet. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get a pry bar, lift up on the spring and seat it into place. All right, you just do the same thing for the other spring. All right, now that we got our springs in, we're just gonna raise up the axle a little bit just so we can get everything else in place. All right, now we just have a couple things we gotta put on our new shock. There is the sleeve, there's the bushing, and then the metal sleeve. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a little bit of grease, just go around the inside here. Get our rubber bushing. Try and press it against the ground here, push it through. Do the same thing on here, put some grease on the inside. Get our metal sleeve and push it through. All right, and do the same thing for the other shock. All right, we're gonna put our new shock in. We're gonna install it with our new supplied hardware. First off, we're gonna put our washer and then our rubber insulator. You'll see that ridge, have that sticking up. Slide it through, do another rubber isolator, washer, and then the nut. Just get that hand tight for now and we'll put our bottom bolt in. All right, we're gonna tighten out with our ratchet with a 21 millimeter socket and 13/16 wrench. All right, now we're gonna tighten our top shock bolt. It's a 19 millimeter nut, just as the factory one was. All right, we're gonna reinstall our factory sway bar link bolt. Thread that in, get your 16 millimeter ratcheting wrench, tighten that down. All right, we're gonna reinstall our plastic wheel cover with our 4 8 millimeter bolts that we took out. All right, now you just repeat the same steps for the other side. All right, now we're gonna line our track bar back up so we can reinstall our 21 millimeter bolt that we took out. All right, now we can lower our jack stands and put the wheels back on the vehicle. All right, and that wraps up our install of our BDS 3-inch Performance Elite Coilover Suspension Lift Kit with Fox 2.5 coilovers and Fox 2.0 shocks for our 2019 and newer 4-wheel drive Ram 1500 without air ride, excluding the EcoDiesel and TRX. And remember, for everything Ram, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.